So I've said this countless times already that the average man can live happily in a shoebox at the side of the road. And now we are witnessing this. Men have stopped working in the US. It's actually over 30 million men, 30 million able bodied men have stopped working in the US, and society is freaking out. They said they didn't need us, they didn't want us. I've said this before and I'll say it again. A country without its men is not a country, it is a wasteland. It is a very serious situation. By the way, if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure to hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get new videos early. If you'd like to learn more about that, click the join button down below this video. So it's a reality that we all have to face. But the fact of the matter is that our country cannot survive without men. And men can live happily in a shoebox at the side of the road because men don't need much to survive. And we've talked about this, men walking away on their own terms and finding what works for them. If we look at this article that was recently published, why so many men in the US have stopped working, and I've talked about this in the past, just check it out. Check it out, check it out, check it out. The share of prime working age US men with a job has declined from about 96% in the 1950s to 86%. The effects of recessions, globalization, and disabilities can partially explain the decline, but there are also several other factors which explain why men aren't working. Men aren't working. You can kind of rearrange that like MWA, men walking away. Men aren't working like they used to. American men who are in their prime working age are employed at much lower rates than they used to be. And a combination of factors are causing this. In the early 1950s, as many as 96% of prime working age American men who were between the ages of 25 and 54 had full-time or part-time jobs per the Bureau of Labor Statistics. As of March, about 86% of working age men were employed. And this cohort's employment rate has lagged behind many developed countries in recent years. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development found. As such, many men are struggling to support themselves financially, and mental health experts say the longer people are out of the workforce, the higher the chances they'll experience mental health challenges. It could be about recessions. Since the 1950s, whenever the U.S. economy fell into a recession, men's employment rate tended to suffer a longer lasting blow. When the economy entered a recession in 1953, the share of prime age men with jobs dropped from 96% to 92.8% and never fully recovered to the pre-recession level, per the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And this pattern has repeated in many of the recessions that followed. During the Great Recession of 2008, the prime age male employment rate fell from 88% to 80.6% and hasn't reached above 86.7% since. And then after the events of 2020's recession, it doesn't prove, it may prove the exception. After falling to as low as 78% in 2020, men's employment rate has nearly recovered to its pre-2020 levels. In recent decades, declines in labor force participations have tended to accompany recessions. So let's consider. Many men with disabilities aren't working. In 1960s, roughly 455,000 workers collected Social Security disabilities. In 2022, more than 7.6 million people, including about 1.3 million men between the ages of 25 and 54, collected disabilities. Some of this can be attributed to a growing and aging population and the expansion of these benefits over time. However, a challenging job market has also played a role. What drives people to apply for disability in many cases is the repeated loss of work and inability to find new employment. Other theories. So these are just theories. These are just theories. Education, incarceration, and stay-at-home dads. So they're basically just trying to reach out and figure out Why is it that all of these men are no longer working? Okay, the reality is that other studies have found that men are staying home, playing video games, and sleeping. Yes, this is it. They're at home just chilling and relaxing. Okay, and society can't. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to give it any credit. Milo Yiannopoulos talked about this many years ago. He said that men will be okay. It's women who are going to ultimately end up feeling the brunt of this. He called it the sexodus. He said because young men were no longer engaging in relationships and they were getting all of their needs met through adult content, they were avoiding relationships, dating, and instead focusing on just playing video games, and relaxing. And this is what's happened. After M2, men are done. Men no longer have a dog in the fight. If a man if it's not for love of family or love of country, then men will not fight for anything other than themselves. This is the truth. It will only be self-preservation and self-care. Straight out of the Mouse Utopia experiment. The beautiful ones. Men will stop engaging. Men will stop getting into arguments. Men will stop going out. They don't want the problems. Men are no longer going to the gyms. They're basically building home gyms. And the men that do remain in the gyms, they're becoming extremely aggressive. You have to just observe this reality right now. Men are frustrated. And they've basically, right, I've said this, men are problem solvers. We look at the problems that men have been experiencing in relation to the way women have been acting and treating men in society. And men basically are, we were in the problem phase, now we're in the solution phase, and soon we will be in the conclusion phase. The manosphere is quickly and rapidly moving on from women into space, discussing women, and instead focusing on other topics. You can see that there's a lot of chattering going on where more and more men don't even want to hear about, what's happening with, how women are behaving, or they want to talk about money. They would rather talk about space, astrophysics, the economy. I'm serious. Health, wealth, fitness, hell, even video games. They would rather talk about things that make them happy, things that allow them to develop themselves. But, they would rather talk about beer and food. Guys, you're going to see a lot of these food channels popping up in the manosphere. You're going to see a lot of these food channels popping up in the manosphere. We're going to have these brothers just laying it down. These men, all right, just laying it down. Black, white, Hispanic, all of these men just grilling. All right, Asian too. There's some Asian guys in the community that are throwing down. You have a lot of these men throwing down in the kitchen. These are videos that listen, people say that I can see the future. I just have common sense. All right. I understand men. Men like to eat. Men like to look at good food. You're going to have a lot of these videos popping up in the manosphere where you have men throwing down in the kitchen, grilling up steaks. Because I go to a lot of the MWA channels. You guys have videos of yourselves grilling and cooking on there. And that's what men want to see. Men want to see these. They want to see nice stacks of meat. They want to see all the different different foods that are being cooked with the recipe and everything else. This is what men want to see. So this is the type of thing you're going to see it popping up. Cooking videos, grilling, cast iron. I'm telling y'all, cutting up the meat, eating it. This is so good. Look how good that is. Look how this is it. This is a nice slab of Wagyu right here. Guys, can you imagine? Many of us could never afford Wagyu back in the day, but because we don't have wives or girlfriends, we could eat Wagyu whenever we want. Well, not every day, but think about it like this. How much does a date cost today? $300, $400? How much does a piece of Wagyu cost? $100, $200? So you can get yourself a nice piece of Wagyu, eat like a king. Eat like a king. Make it at home. Eat like a king. And modern women will never enjoy that. I keep on warning that women will no longer have access to these men. Okay? Women will no longer have access to. They said they didn't like these men. Women will no longer have access to these men. Men have stopped working. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, you want even more of this content, consider checking out the Men Walking Away channel. There's a link to it in the description of the video. Go check it out. Subscribe to the channel. Support the content. What do you guys think? Men have stopped working in the US. And it's only going to continue to accelerate. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and Men Walking Away. And cheers.